Hello, my name is John Ferguson and I'm the Presbytery Clerk for Perth Presbytery, and I've been in this role since January 2023 when the new Presbytery of Perth was formed. My previous life was as a parish minister in Petercouter in Aberdeen, and at that time I was also the part-time clerk for the Presbytery of Aberdeen and Shetland. The job of Presbytery Clerk is a challenging one in many ways, and it's also one though that can be very fulfilling and worthwhile. And it's one in which obviously there's a great deal of administration, but at the same time I also see the role as having a pastoral aspect as well, and seeking to support the ministers, the session clerks and the elders in our presbytery, and ensuring that they feel valued in the fantastic work that they do. When the new presbyteries were formed a few years ago now, when this process began, the positive aspect about it was the fact that presbyteries could employ more than just a part-time clerk, as tended to be the case in the past. We now have a number of employees, including a deputy clerk, a congregational support officer, a communications officer and a buildings officer. The presbytery is the third largest geographically in the Church of Scotland, and we have at this time around 125 charges. And of course a lot of these are vacant, and because the presbytery planning process is now well underway, we are finding that more and more vacancies are being filled. One of the aspects about the life of the Church of Scotland today is that there are a great deal of exciting and tremendously positive things happening in our congregations. But it tends to be the case that because we are going through a period just now of readjustment, of uniting or linking congregations, because of all the impact of, for example, the COVID epidemic, many people see the church in quite a negative light. But behind all of that, there are congregations who are reaching out into their communities, undertaking fantastic work in the name of Christ. We recently held a meeting for all those involved in ministry in our presbytery, and we decided to use the time to share some good news stories, and there were plenty of good news stories to share. We heard, for example, about a congregation that engages in pilgrimages. We heard about a minister who is seeking to support people in worship who have additional support needs. We heard about the fantastic work of one of our local mission churches, Bertha Park, which is reaching out into the community, even though they don't have a traditional church building. And we heard about another congregation where the work with children and young families is going tremendously well. There are so many good news stories, and I hope that as we move forward and as things settle down in our presbytery, we'll hear a lot more about the positive and exciting things that are happening in the name of Christ in the Presbytery of Perth.